Hello and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast.
I'm Tony Southcott.
I'm Albert Berg.
We're coming to you on a Saturday morning, getting ready to review a bunch of, this seminal hit that everybody seems to like, called Sharknado. It's like out of all the Asylum movies, like out of all of them, the one that like Al should like, the one that everybody considers to be the best one because of the success it had on Sci-Fi. And it's not. It's not the best.
It's not the best. This is like, I mean, it's better than 500 mile per hour Storm, Tony, by quite a bit. And it's better than that other Storm movie that I saw that was just like, I scrubbed the title from my memory because it was so bad, but not by a lot. Man. There were some... I wanted to like this movie so bad, Tony. I wanted to like it so bad.
And I'm sure there were moments where you liked it, but otherwise it's just like, I don't know. Let's get the first thing out of the way. Like, the Asylum needs to find a place that's cloudy to film Storm movies.
I know. Yeah, go to, like, Stephanie Myers did her research and found the, like, rainiest place on Earth. Go to Forks and film there. Sharknado, Forks edition. What is it, like Washington or something? Nebraska?
Somewhere in Washington, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's seriously just up the coast. Like, you're only filming for like under 2 weeks.
You're already filming Z Nation in Washington anyway.
Yeah, you've already got the production crew there. Just go somewhere where it's cloudy so you don't have to impose rain over a sunny, bright day.
That's not even the worst of it. Like, it's just... Like, all of their weather movies are bad because of this reason. Because you can... Like, the sharks are fine. Right, you can CG a shark very easily at this point. Yeah. It looks like a shark. It flies through the air, whatever. Weather is not easy to do with the crappy special effects budget that they have. And it looks so bad.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, bad, like, worse than... I know that... I have all the complaints about this movie that people normally have about Asylum movies, right? And I don't know why. I don't know why I can't overlook in this movie compared to... I keep coming back to it, and I'm terrified of it, but I keep coming back to the idea that I'm just a hipster.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, like, because everybody likes it, I don't like it. I try so hard, Tony.
But I liked Mercenaries and Big Ass Spider.
Yeah.
Although I think most people would like Big Ass Spider.
Yeah, like that was, as we mentioned last week, that one's not...
That's more of an actual...
on the edge of a B movie. And,
yeah, it's more of a creature feature than just a B movie.
And a comedy creature feature, too. It sets out to be funny.
Yeah.
So...
But this movie, like, I know that you are pretty much the ultimate hipster. Like, we've found that out over the past 2 years. But I couldn't find much redeeming about this movie either, and this is supposed to be the one that kind of bridges people into the Asylum movies.
I think, here's the thing, Tony. I think what happens is that people are excited by the concept. Right? Like, nobody's going to watch Air Collision because it's two planes. Like, the title of the movie is, like, two planes. You know, they're going to hit each other in midair. I love Air Collision. Air Collision's hilarious. I mean, some of the, like, the acting is bad, but it's, like, in a fun way bad.
Yeah.
But it's not going to strike wildfire like an idea like Sharknado is. Sharknado's like, oh, sharks in a tornado? That sounds ridiculous. Oh, let's make a joke about it. It's the same thing that happened with...
There's Sharkalanche that's coming eventually.
But, like, or the same thing with Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, right? That movie's not any good, but people will talk fondly about it because they saw the trailer and they saw the scene where the shark jumps up and he bites the plane. And they're like, oh, that's cool. It's like, oh, the other Mega Shark movies are so much better, in my opinion. But I don't know. Personally, I think a giant shark fighting a giant robot shark is really, really cool premise too. But
I've never seen a trailer for that. I've never met anyone who's seen a trailer for that. Like, I've heard of people who saw the cover and were like, that looks dumb. But that's it. Like, I never hear the common person, the civvies out there talking about, like, Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark.
And now they made it 2, by the way. They made so it was so popular they made Sharknado 2, and now they're coming out with Sharknado 3. I just want them to be... I don't need them to be good, Tony. Like, we know this. We know I don't need them to be good. I just want them to be fun, and there's very, very little fun in these movies. You gotta like dig around and find it.
Have you seen the second one?
I've seen like an hour of the second one.
My plan was to watch the second one last night just so I'd have something to talk about, and I was like, no, I'm not finishing it. Or I finished the first one. I'm not going to watch the second one.
I really like the opening to the second one. I thought that it was kind of an interesting. For one thing, I thought that the way it was shot was pretty cool. Where like the opening of the second one is Finn, the main character again, and he's on a plane, flying into New York, and he keeps looking out the window and seeing like sharks in the clouds. And there's this sort of like, is it PTSD thing, or are there actually sharks, and he's dealing with PTSD because of having been attacked by a Sharknado?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really clever scene. Then, of course, it turns out they actually are sharks, and they have to crash land the plane or whatever. But I liked how it started, and then it got back in and just we're just running around, and there's a shark thing, and they got Vivica A. Fox in this one. Do what?
They're just running around being randomly heroic, like no real point to the narrative.
Yeah, partly because you can't have. There's no way that you can have the shark. I mean, I guess you can because it's the asylum and they can do anything they want to with wherever their movie go. But like the Sharknado is not a villain.
Yeah,
right? Like it doesn't menace you. Like Mega Shark is a villain. Like it's gonna come and it's gonna chomp on your ships and it's gonna mess you up and it's gonna do it because it's a shark and it's a Mega Shark and that's just what it does. The Sharknado doesn't even have the agency of the sharks inside of it. They're just sucked up against their will.
They're randomly biting at anything.
Yeah.
You'd think after a few minutes they would suffocate, too.
Okay, we're not going to delve into that, Tony. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I care that it's not fun. The worst part is that, like, this movie actually has an interesting subtext of, like, it has a thing that it's trying to say, and it actually is an interesting thing that it's trying to say, where the main hero is, like, hitting on women half his age, and then, through, like, the first half of the movie, he's got his flirty bartender, working for him, and the one female surfer who gets killed off at the end, he's like, hey, baby, what's going on? And then, like, he gets home, and his daughter is that age, and you're like, whoa, okay. And, like, I don't think that that's unintentional. I think that, like, the movie's trying to say, trying to make a point there, like, hey, dude, grow up a little bit. It doesn't make it that well, but I thought it was an interesting idea to explore. And I don't know why they're exploring it in this movie, but it was an interesting idea.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I never thought that was necessarily that bad of a thing, especially if you're like 40 or something like that. Once you get into the 60s and you're kind of geriatric, that's whenever it starts getting weird.
I guess. I mean, it's that scene, right, when his daughter is talking to the other girl and gives her advice, like relationship advice about dating her dad. A woman who, like, the actresses, I looked up their age just to find out their age, not to look pictures at them or anything. Definitely not to look at their pictures. But, like, the one who plays the waitress is 25, and the one who plays the daughter is 21. So they are literally very close in age in real life. And, that scene was just really eye-opening for me. It's like, oh, yeah, that, like, this is a weird situation. I thought that was the most fascinating thing about the movie was sort of this, old guys past their prime, like, trying to continue on as if they were young bucks.
Yeah. Definitely they definitely nailed that point for a long time too, just like over and over again. But then you see like the son come in and it's like more age appropriate and everything.
Right, yeah, and then you kind of get like that resolution like, oh, this is who she should actually be with. Someone who is like I mean, you don't have to like listen. People can date who they want to date. All right? I don't think that the movie's trying to say that you're a bad person if you date someone who's younger than you or whatever. But it was like I think that the more broad idea was that he needed to grow up.
Yeah.
He was still, like, there's a reason why his wife isn't with him still, and it's not because she's a jerk. She's a little bit of a jerk, but he's also got some problems. It's almost a John McClane thing going on there.
He's, like, so terribly competent and so good at what he does, but he's also a man whore.
Listen, if
have you ever
one
heard
thing he knows, it's timing waves, Tony.
Have you ever heard of that rule that you can basically date someone if you take your age in half and add 7 years to it?
I have a problem with the idea of having a rule about who you can date, Tony.
I know.
Beyond, like, they need to be not a minor.
Well, think about it this way. Like, if you're 30, then you cut it in half to 15, add 7 years. That means 22 is like the lowest appropriate age range.
I don't care.
It's a little
care.
arbitrary.
Like, at this, like, I'm 30. I'm just like, I'm not going to enjoy the company of a 19-year-old probably. Like, let's be real here. Like, as much as they might look good or whatever, like, once you've been through enough life, you're like, oh, this person's not very mature, and then you just kind of gotta, date older people. I don't date anybody because I've got my wife, and she's like 2 years younger than me.
Al is out of the game.
Yeah, I am. I am so far out of the game. Like, I'm so far out of the game that I was talking with a girl yesterday about another guy, and she was telling me that she had him in the friend zone. Like, I don't.
Al, you're not supposed to mention the friend zone. The friend zone doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, she thinks it exists, and apparently he is in it for her. I mean, literally the way she described it was, I do not think of him in a sexual way. He is like a brother to me. I was like, oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah.
Because I know, and she's like, and I know that he's interested in me, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I had that
I've been
whenever I was like 18 to 24, basically. Like, actually more like 18 to 21, where I was the loser guy that would try to attach and be a friend until it all worked out. And then I matured and realized that's a dumb thing to do, and it's never going to be like what you hope it is. So just move on. Don't get obsessed.
Yeah.
Made me a cold person.
You have
I had a few examples where it actually did make me a little bit cold for a while. Like whenever a girl goes back to a guy that would like put a cigarette out on her and stuff like that over me, just like, yeah, screw this. I'm done with them.
There is that thing though too, where it's like you don't understand. Like the problem is that they are attracted to that person, Tony, and they're not attracted to you.
Yeah,
like, that's the like you think I'm a nice person, and that person's not. It's like, yeah, but they're not interested in you.
Yeah, and if you're looking at this horrific shell of me, it's kind of understandable sometimes.
I don't want to go that far, Tony.
No, I've like my self-esteem issues are based solely on my spine wanting to pop out sometimes.
Oh, really?
I was telling Joseph that if I could have someone like spatchcock me and then put in like a new spine, I totally would.
That sounds horrific. But I guess it's like you want to do the spine transplant.
I would do it without anesthetics if that's what it took to not have to deal with this anymore.
Oh, wow.
Like I would literally have someone rip my spine out Predator style and like just put a new one in if that's what it took. Although they could just tweak my immune system too.
Yeah, they could just heal you, Tony. Like, I don't...
I'm just saying, I would go through some shit.
Well, I hope that eventually they find something. You're not going to help them find them, though, because you quit on that biology major stuff.
Yeah, that's a long, long road.
Yeah, and we decided we're going to get rich podcasting instead.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
that's going great.
That's working. It's actually working better than we think, but, somehow.
It's one step at a time, Tony.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot more I can say about Sharknado. I don't like being super negative, Tony, but I didn't enjoy this movie.
Did you like the Tasmanian character at all? The bomb guy?
The bong guy?
Bomb.
Oh, he was okay. I didn't... You know what? You know who my favorite character ended up being, honestly? Like, now that I think about it?
The drunk guy at the bar?
No, it was the son.
Yeah, he was at least bold and, like, getting out there and doing things.
Yeah, and the acting from him was, like... It was that classic Asylum acting of, like, he doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's, throwing himself into it anyway.
Oh, he's got, like, a smirk on the whole time, even whenever it's supposed to be serious, too.
Yeah.
It's very Asylum.
I really, I wanted more of that. Honestly, there were moments in this movie where the acting was too good. Like, I didn't connect with any of the main characters except for a little bit with Nova, just because she's kind of cute. By the way,
I was so mad at something that happened in Nova, and then I called how it was going to be resolved. It's like, yeah, it's the Asylum. It's going to work out.
There's yeah. That was okay. Like, that ending was kind of fun, I guess. That almost, like, went over the top far enough for me to be like, all right, well, that was... You get a few points back, but... there's a whole, like... It's weird how this movie is, like, going back and forth, like, it almost castigates the guys, like, you should not be, like, objectifying these young women. And then, like, the movie objectifies the young women, like, the guy gets bit by the shark, and the lady's like, I'll take off my wrap and then just be in my bikini so you can have something to cover your wound with.
Especially because there's a medical kit right there, so I'm pretty sure there's probably a rubber tube for a tourniquet.
Yeah.
I mean, she is on a beach, though, so it's not as inappropriate as certain areas to be in a bikini.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like there was a lot of moments in this where, like, and again, like, she's, like, getting attacked by the sharks, and she has the shotgun in her hand, but she can't shoot the shark. She's like, I can't shoot. And then, like, the guy has to come in and whack it. You know, the old guy has to come in and save the girl. But we're not going to be... It's weird that he's creepy to her, but she can't, like, do anything for herself or act like an actual human being.
She shoots a few sharks later.
She does. She gets it back. But it was just like that opening thing. If you're looking at it from the the feminist perspective or whatever, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's trying to go both ways at the same time and
not having that much success. You know what would be awesome though?
What would be awesome?
If little propane tanks that you could buy at like Home Depot could stop F5 tornadoes.
Why didn't we think of this before?
Because I mean, think about it. Like every place in like Missouri, like in that whole like tornado belt, could just have little drones that like shoot into a tornado and pop, and then all of a sudden it disappears.
Again, Tony, it doesn't make any sense to question the logic of this. Like,
no, I'm just saying it would be awesome if that's
how... It would be nice if that had if that happened.
And then you wouldn't have to worry about those cownados in Kansas.
I guess that actually does happen.
I'm almost surprised there isn't a movie of Mad Cownado now.
What other animal would you put in the NATO besides the shark?
Squid.
Do what?
Whole bunch of giant squid.
That would be kind of cool.
Reaching you out and dragging you back into the tornado.
There's a movie about like some tentacles in the sky or something that would be kind of cool. Like if it was just like not even squid, right? Like it's just like some kind of weird weather phenomenon where it's a storm, but then it has tentacles that like reach out and grab you and pull you in. Tentacle-nado. That needs to be a movie.
I don't think squid would work though because they would probably just flatten out too quickly to be menacing on ground or on the ground when they're flung.
Octonado.
Loch Ness-nado.
That's a good one. Like 800 Loch Ness monsters just like flying around chomping at people.
Need about 50.
It's the amount of money they need and the speed of the wind in the tornado.
350-mile-an-hour winds, that would be some scary stuff.
I think tornadoes actually get up that high.
I'm not sure on what the actual wind is for that. I've seen some funnel clouds before. My dad drove out of a tornado once. The building he was in collapsed while he was out.
Man, we were in New Orleans. We almost got hit by a tornado. Like, I don't know if there was. I didn't hear like there wasn't. I don't think there was an actual tornado. But like the rain came up, and then we got a little tornado warning on our phone, and all of a sudden the wind was just. We're in a car, like in a parking garage. And the rain is just coming in horizontally through the openings of the parking garage.
That's scary.
I was like, like I said, I didn't hear a tornado, but there was so much wind and so much rain all at once. I was like, this could actually happen. We could actually be hit by a tornado.
Yeah. I've been in a few situations where it's like the sky is almost green and it's circling and it's so strange. Like eerie calm, and then all of a sudden you're just getting pelted with hail. Like one of the time, the storm that killed my truck, I was out there with a football helmet on and football pads, trying to clear out some of these drainage gutters so it wouldn't flood the houses. So I'd actually go out into this field in this drainage ditch. I was just getting pelted the whole time, and I'm sitting there and my phone is like buzzing that there's a tornado warning and all this other stuff going on. It was nuts.
It's that was the best part of that trip too, Tony. Everything else about that trip was even worse. Yeah,
because you went from you were only there for 2 days, weren't you? Not even that?
I just want to say to everybody in New Orleans, I hate you and I hate your city. I hope it burns to the ground. Oh.
There, we lose a good chunk of our New Orleans audience.
Listen, all right? I drove all the way there for like 3 hours, and there's nowhere to park. I mean, there's like all these paid parking places, but nobody like... I just...
So you're saying...
French Quarter. Screw French Quarter. Screw Canal Street. Screw the stupid Audubon Aquarium, who doesn't even have a way to like... build a giant aquarium. You don't build a parking lot. You don't build a place like... There's a parking garage across the way you have to pay to get into.
Big cities, it's just all about paying where you park. Whenever I did Comic-Con, I ended up paying about $40 over the course of like the 3 days just to park.
It sucks. And then I've got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old and my wife and my parents there, and I'm dragging them around, like dragging them from the parking spaces to the place where we were going, trying to find the parking space because we reserved ahead of time, which was just stupid. Tony, just like... We went and reserved our parking place ahead of time, like, it won't be that far of a walk or whatever. It was a far walk. We should have just wandered around until we found a parking lot that we liked and parked there. But no, we didn't do that.
Should have gotten an Uber.
I guess I could have done that. I don't think that they have, like, space for car seats in an Uber.
Yeah, I have no idea about that.
Yeah, you know, it gets really complicated when you have an infant child and a toddler. You don't get to do anything. You get to like go to the one place and then like, all right, well we're done here. We get to leave. I don't get to walk around and look at anything because you know the sun's out and they're 2 years old and 6 months old and they're in the stroller and you can't take the stroller down Bourbon Street. So screw you if you want to go and see anything. Take the
stroller down Bourbon Street. There isn't anything like that dangerous like in the middle of the day.
There are cars.
Oh.
Going down Bourbon Street. It's a one-way, narrow street. You can walk down, I guess, but I'm not squeezing a stroller down there. I had to drive down part of it for like 2 minutes, and then there was a traffic jam, and there was a dude screaming about the Super Bowl for no reason. It's like in the middle of the road. He's like, we're going to the Super Bowl or something. And like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they are going to the Super Bowl. I don't think football's happening right now. What was he screaming about?
The only thing that's about to happen in football is the NFL draft. Otherwise, we got until August before the first preseason games start.
It was just the worst experience. And then it's like, I'm with my parents, right? And so they don't know how to find anything. I don't know how to find anything either, but I have a phone, Tony. I have this in my pocket. You know what else? They have this in their pocket, too. They don't know how to use it. They expect me to use it, so I'm babysitting them and my babies. All right? So they're like, we don't know how to find this place. Can you, like, look it up and we'll follow you? And I'm like, fine. So I pull up, I have the Google, the Google Maps. It gives me directions. I love their service or whatever. You know, it's sometimes it's a little bit convoluted because they'll be like, you're in the middle of driving somewhere that's like 5 miles away, like rerouting. We'll take you off the interstate and put you right back on the interstate because the accident. Like, I guess you saved me like 2 minutes. Yay. But other than that, it's really neat that we live in this time of technology. But I'm dragging them around, and like at one point. Okay. At one point, we go to this. We went there to see my uncle, right? We go there to see my uncle. I drove 3 hours to New Orleans. I mean, I saw some other sites. We went. The coolest thing we did was before my parents got there was we went to the Children's Museum. We just drove around. I was like, oh, this looks cool. So Louisiana Children's Museum, parked just found a random parking spot. We didn't reserve it or anything. That worked out so much better than reserving. And walked down the street in the rain. Which it was raining, but we made it, and then we get to the Children's Museum. It's cool. There's cool stuff in there, and we just walked around for a little while, and then we went back to the hotel. And the next day we go to meet my uncle. My dad picks out the place where he wants to eat. I wanted to go and eat at the Joint, Tony. My dad doesn't want to eat at the Joint. Apparently that's not upscale enough for him.
I've never heard of the Joint. All I know is that the food there is supposed to be the best. So I love Cajun food. Did you at least get some enjoyment out of the food there or not at all?
I mean, okay. So I'm getting to that part, all right? So he decides he wants to go to this restaurant called Sassafras. And don't ever go to Sassafras. All right? Screw those guys. But that's where he decides he wants to go. He doesn't want to go to the Joint. I'm like, fine. So this is right after that massive rainstorm. And there's a big puddle. And by a big puddle, I mean like about 2 feet of water, maybe 3 feet of water on the road at one point. Like it goes, it's not for a long period of time, but it, sort of dips down and you got to go through that.
Yeah.
I have my van. He has his little dinky car. I go through the puddle. He does not, despite the fact that like a bunch of other people had gone through. And I saw a lady with a Jeep turn around, which I was just disappointed. I was like, you have a Jeep. You have a Jeep. You go through the puddle. Like everybody else can turn around. You have a Jeep.
It's a problem out here because people ignore medians because there's so many Jeeps and trucks and things like that. You have to like go to Nebraska to get a good deal on a Jeep because everybody's in the market for a Jeep.
Anyway, so he doesn't go through the puddle. I go through the puddle, so he can't get to the restaurant. He's like, how do I get to the restaurant? I'm like, I have to reroute. Like, I have to go and like give my mom directions as he's driving to the restaurant I didn't want to go to. They don't know what they're doing at all. They're in an unfamiliar city. They refuse to use their phones. And my aunt and uncle have like flip phones, which is just stupid because they're lawyers. They can afford so much better. But they're going to talk about how my grandma, like, she wouldn't get with the times, right? She didn't like electric stoves. She didn't like elevators. What a weirdo. Let me get my flip phone out and not be able to get a call or do anything with it but talk to people. I'm cool. Anyway, so they finally, like, takes me like 15 minutes. I finally walk them through getting there on my phone. They show up. And then we get into the restaurant, and it is the slowest waiter I have ever had. Like, the worst. He sits us down and takes like 20 minutes to bring us water, to take our drink order even. Then another like 15 minutes to take our order. Then like 30 minutes to bring the food out. When the food got there, it was good. But then he wouldn't bring us the check. It's another 30 minutes after we get our food before he finally, like, comes and asks if we want the check. 15 minutes after that, he brings the check. Then it's another 15 minutes before he comes and picks up our money. And 10 minutes to bring us our money.
That's like my sister. My sister does not take well to that. She will literally just carry cash so she can get out of places.
I wish that we had.
Well, it's not something you anticipate that you're going to be like stuck in a restaurant for 3 hours like some dirty European.
Well, okay, it wouldn't have even been so bad, but I have a 2-year-old. He wants to get up and do stuff. I want to get up and do stuff. I don't have, he has less self-control than me. He's going to squirm and get up and walk around and... I was so infuriated. I was just glad to get home and go back to work. Walmart was a welcome respite, okay? I was like, thank God I get to go back to work with adults who do not expect me to do their job for them. Like, we just all work together. I don't have to babysit anybody. Even the dumb ones, like, man, it was the best thing ever. I was back on the clock. I was moving boxes. I knew what I needed to do, and nobody else needed me to do more than what I needed to do. I didn't have to deal with babies. It was the best.
Yeah, so it's like your alone time in the day.
It is. I get to go and deal with people my own age. Other than my wife. Of my own gender, too, which is, that was just nice to be around a bunch of other guys.
Like, if you're not hanging out with, with people of your own gender and your own age group, like, it starts to get a little bit weird over time. Like, whenever I was working for my last school district job, I was working with about 40 women from about 35 to 65. And it just got weird sometimes. I would just be, like, isolated in my little bubble. Like, I had to seek out the few people that I could talk to in that entire place. It's kind of weird this week, though. Like, the guy who sits directly next to me got fired.
Oh, really?
Like, the best friend I've had at the new job, like, they decided to opt out before his 90 days were up, because after the 90 days, because of, like, union protections and everything, you got to do, like, at least 6 months to a year of work to fire somebody.
Okay.
Like, so they just decided to, like, take him and, like, give him the axe right there. Like, they were like, hey, come into my office real quick. And then, like, we never saw him again.
That sucks.
Like, they, like, had him escorted out of the building and everything.
Really?
And this is a guy who's, like, 65. Like, he he's worked for one company his entire life. He worked for Safeway for 35 years and then just decided he was going to get like a 2-year computer degree and just keep working because he was bored at home. And like he got the job here. Like they were concerned about some things, but he was a nice guy and he was good at customer service, so they thought they'd let him in. And he wasn't picking up the stuff as fast as he should have. Like he should have been learning some things. He had questions for us about 75% of the calls he was taking, so he'd have to put them on hold, go seek somebody out, do all that instead of just knowing.
Yeah.
And that's fine for the first like month or two. But after that, you got to start learning a little bit. Like, you got to start being on your own. Like, I try to ask less than one question a day is my goal, like, just to be that knowledgeable about stuff. And he just wasn't picking it up. But the way they did it seemed so shady to me. They waited until his 89th day and then just walked him into the office and canned him and escorted him out.
Yeah, if they didn't want him, like, why would you keep him around even that long?
Because he's a really, really, really nice old man. Just very kind, walks up, talks to everybody in the morning, like asks them how they're doing, is genuinely concerned about people. He's good at following up on phone calls and things like that. They just were hoping he would learn it, but he wasn't remembering stuff. He'd ask us the same question 3 times in a day sometimes.
Yeah. Man, it sucks getting old.
Yeah.
It sucks, like...
And that's just encoding issues, like where you're just not remembering as much. And it's not like he's got precursors to Alzheimer's or anything. At least I don't think so. But it's just like he just wasn't getting it.
Well, and the worst part too is like this guy decided he was going to make something of himself. He was going to like learn a skill and better himself and like continue into some kind of new field. And it just like for that not to work out, and for anybody of any age, but especially somebody who's like I can do this, and then, they've been their whole life in one place, and then just to get shot down like that.
Yeah. Like, he was texting me a little bit this morning. It caught him completely off guard because he thought he was doing well. He thought he was doing better, and he was. It's just they had already made the decision.
I know it's harder for, I try not to be hard on people who are having I think we talked about this back in the early days of the podcast, but I had an old supervisor for a while when I was working in sporting goods. And she could not learn the computer stuff, and it so infuriated me. And she was a bad manager too. Like,
yeah,
she was a nice lady, but she was just so bad at managing the department, and it was. It drove me to distraction. She would tell, she would leave like really vague instructions and like then be upset if something didn't get done that she didn't tell me to do, or like she would say, well, I need you to do this. I'm like, well, how should I do that? She's like, well, just do it. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm going to be by myself. I can't go over here and leave the department for this and that. And like, how do you want me to do this? And she's like, I don't know. Just do it.
At least you had autonomy.
I guess. I didn't have the autonomy not to do the thing, whatever it was that she wanted. It was anyway. But she was fine. Like, there was nothing wrong with her as a person. She just needed to stay as a cashier.
Yeah.
If you're going to learn something, you need to be learning it like throughout your life. I think that, not that older people can't learn things, but I don't know.
I think a lot of it is the attitude that they approach things with whenever they're trying not to learn, especially with computers. I've worked with a lot of people that just do not want to learn. They come up with any excuse so that you do it for them, and they will not pay attention. I already told you once about that, the lady in the early childhood that put her fingers in her ears and was saying, I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening.
Wait, what? You told me about that? I don't remember this.
I did. Well,
tell me about this. This sounds fascinating. Let's hear about your misery, Tony.
I'm trying to teach this woman how to use her new printer. Like, I'm showing her, like, this is how you replace a cartridge, this is how you do this and that. And I've had a theory for a long time that teachers end up taking on the mentality of the kids that they're around the most. Like, kindergarten teachers end up always being really cutesy and really, like, trying to, like, they're almost talking down to you because they're so used to, like, looking down at a 5 or 6-year-old and just talking to them.
Right.
So they always end up being very sweet people, but a little bit hard to talk to. Like, they're hard to get through that kindergarten mindset. This lady's a preschool teacher, so she's even a step further behind on that. And whenever I start showing her all this about how to use her printer, she literally sticks her fingers in her ears, and she's like, I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. And I just sat there, like, I probably gave her either the most bewildered, or maybe the meanest expression I've ever given to someone, because she looked genuinely freaked out whenever she opened her eyes again. Like
She should have been freaked out before she plugged her. You.
Like, seriously, I could not handle that. She was probably like about 35, so not that old even. Like, she should have been able to do all this. She has a college degree, but she was afraid of toner cartridges.
That's so weird.
Yeah. That's probably the strangest reaction I've had to trying to teach somebody anything. Or at least a grown adult anything.
Yeah. I would hesitate to call that person an adult, Tony. I know that age-wise they are, but wow. I wouldn't want that person teaching my child.
Yeah, whatever you're teaching AJ something, I'm sure sometimes he's paying attention, and sometimes he's like tracking every other thing in the room.
Well, I do that too, Tony.
Yeah.
That's genetic from me.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting here talking to me, and I just pull a book off the shelf.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I do that to my wife. When I'm doing the podcast, I mostly pay attention, but like sometimes I'll just, I'll be off in my own mind world, and she'll say something, I'll be like, I'm sorry, what? I was in space. And
video kind of helps me pay more attention, because I could be like sifting through trying to find the questions for Twitter or something like that. But no, you could see that now.
Well, we can cut away. Like sometimes I'll look down or something at my laptop when you're talking, because I know I can cut away from myself.
Yeah.
But that generally it does require you to be a little bit more alert. It's just more work in general. But yeah, there's I don't know. It's fun. Speaking of like teaching things, it's interesting because there are so many like opportunities to teach kids stuff as a parent. Like just walking through your everyday life. Like, there's been several times since we've been on vacation. We were in hotels or whatever, and there would be stairs, and AJ likes to go on stairs. So when we go on the stairs, I would have him count. Which he's not great at counting yet, but he kind of knows. So I would just like start at wherever he was at. I didn't want to start at the bottom necessarily, but wherever he was at, and we would start counting. I'd be like, all right, 1, 2, and as we stepped up, I would count off the stairs up to like 20, whatever. So he kind of has that in his mind, and we've been working on teaching him. Recently, we'll be driving around in the van, and he'll just decide we go this way, and he'll like point where he wants to go. Sometimes it's like towards grandma's house or whatever. But so I figured, well, since he knows like where he's at spatially now, I've started to try to teach him like, we're going to turn left here, AJ, and then we're going to turn right. And try to teach him like left and right stuff now.
Yeah, all that cognitive mapping and all that stuff. Get it like started early. It's a good thing.
Yeah, there's just so much. I mean, for one thing, I think that kids are generally smarter than you give them credit for, so they don't pick it up right all at the same time. He's still gets stuck between 14 and 15, so he'll just be like, he likes the teens, so he'll just be stepping up and counting to himself. He'll just be like 14, 15, 14, 15. but he's getting, it's some of it's getting in there. It doesn't all have to happen at once.
Yeah.
It's just nice to be able to kind of just work, and have that be part of the daily life instead of like, okay, now you've gone to school, you must learn your ABCs because you're 5.
It reminds me of a PSA I saw once where it's this guy, he's walking down the streets, and like he seems kind of crazy because he's over exaggerating everything he reads. And then at the end of the commercial, it's just like this, like you see that he's actually walking his like 3-year-old around, and it's like every opportunity or every moment can be a learning opportunity, because he like walks by a tattoo parlor, he's like, tattoos, ouch, like he's spelling words out and all this other stuff for her. It's just little interesting PSA. I'm not sure it was actually necessary, but it was interesting enough.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't. Listen, I don't think that you can go overboard with that too. Like sometimes it's just okay to be with your kids and have fun and whatever. But like there are a lot of opportunities to teach them in the world, and they're even at a very young age, they're AJ especially is putting together more sentences and becoming more. It's weird how many phases he goes through so fast. He was in the Mater phase for like 4 or 5 months, and now he's like, no, I don't. Forget about Mater. Who cares? Let's watch Chuggington. And it's kind of sad to see things go that were like really cute. And you're like, oh, I really like when you did that. And now you don't do it anymore. You used to say I'm fine a lot. You'd ask him if he's okay. He'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. And like he would say that, and he never says that anymore. I'm sure he could say it if he wanted to, but if you ask him if he's okay, he doesn't do that. And he went through a stage where right now he does a thing where he'll say something that he's gonna do. He's like, watch, Mickey. Okay. Say okay at the end. Clean up table. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird when those phases just vanish too. Like one of our neighbor kids, like whenever I was growing up, I would go over and play with them when they were in the front yard, or whatever, just killing some time. And every time they saw me, they'd be like, "Oni, Oni, 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 Oni." And then all of a sudden, one day it stopped, and I was just Tony.
Yeah, because they learn, and you want them to. You don't want to be saying "Oni, Oni, Oni" forever, but there's a party that's like, it was cute when you said "Oni, Oni." I know that you're going to be an adult now, and you got to grow and learn new things, but it was cute, and now it's not anymore.
That kid's graduating this year. That's bizarre to me.
Oh, okay. So this was a long time ago when he called you Oni,
This was
Oni.
a long time ago. I was there the day he was born, though, and he's graduating high school, and that's weird.
You're an old person, Tony.
No, I'm 28.
I'm 29. We're getting up in years.
I'm getting to that big 3-0 mark. Getting to the mark where I can only take so many risks for so long now.
Yeah, I think about that. I'm trying to make sure I'm on a diet right now, more or less. I'm really, really trying to cut back not because I'm super overweight. I have a gut that just bugs me. It's my Brantley said I have the physique of the Grinch. The rest of my body is normal proportion, and then I just have stomach sticking out. And then he's like, when you stand with your hands on your hips and your stomach just sticks way out, I was like, partly because I have bad posture too, but still.
I have to try to work the posture thing. That's hard. But I gained 18 pounds in the first month of this new job because I went from getting almost 10,000 steps a day to getting 2,000. And so now I'm trying to curtail that. It's only 4.5 pounds down in a month, but it's so hard to just deal with the life changes sometimes.
Well, and you got to the problem with dieting is you basically have to be hungry sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's not fun.
I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
It's I don't want to be hungry. I'm hungry is my body telling me to eat. I should eat.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways to get around that. Just eat an apple or something won't be that bad.
Yeah, but the other thing that's hard about the diet is I've cut out potato chips, Tony.
That
basically 100%. And I really miss the crunch of potato chips. That is such a satisfying feeling in your mouth.
And people try to come up with these healthy alternatives. The only thing I've seen that are even remotely pretend healthy are those veggie sticks, or you can just have carrots for a crunch. But kale chips are nasty.
There's some pretty good rice chips that they actually have at Publix that have some good flavor. I don't know how much you do what?
That's all carbs still. Whenever you try to do the diets that I do, where it's paleo or keto or something like that, you still can't have that many carbs. Keto is the coolest and weirdest and worst diet at all at the same time because you wake up and you're having bacon and cheese, and you go to lunch and you're having a salad with avocado and cheese and everything else, and you're just pouring everything on there trying to get so that 60% of your calories are fat, because that switches you over from using it changes the glycemic load and everything, and you're burning fat instead of burning off sugars, and you lose weight dramatically. Before Comic-Con last year, I went from 257 to 241 in 2 weeks because of how well it works. And then as soon as you go off of it, your body's been craving carbs for a month, so you just go into this free fall spiral of all the bad foods you've been missing.
It's just hard.
Yeah, definitely is.
And part of it too is not just losing weight, but I want to be healthy too. So I told my wife, I was cut out all of the junk food, right? Just don't buy specifically potato chips, and we cut out sugar soda, although I still drink diet sodas.
Yeah, I have been able to get rid of the diet soda thing for a little while. I love water and everything, but sometimes the carbonation and just a little taste of something is what you need.
Well, it's really handy to have for lunches too, because I take my lunch to work, so you just throw some cans in there and then you have it for your lunch. I'm drinking the white no-calorie Monster, despite the fact that it tastes nowhere
I've got over on my desk right now.
Nowhere near as good as the green stuff.
Yeah, but that's the green stuff. I think we talked about this before. If you drink 1 can of green Monster a day, that ends up being 2 pounds of sugar per month.
Well,
pick up a 2-pound bag of sugar, and that's exactly
what
you're
in a month, though, Tony. How many is that per day?
What's that?
How many ounces is that per day?
16.
Is it?
I'm
Anyway,
pretty sure.
I did not drink them once a day.
16.
I
Not
would
sure how many
usually,
ounces.
I would probably go
That's-
through 2 or 3 a week,
So 32 ounces. So it's a little over an ounce of sugar a day.
and I probably got a pound of, like sugar from other stuff anyway.
And with how much we drink these these diet monsters, like we're probably getting like a huge helping of aspartame and all these other chemicals anyway.
I don't worry about aspartame.
Yeah. I've seen some inconclusive things on that, so I'm just going to pretend it's not giving me cancer, because if I drank soda, it would be heart disease.
Well, we talked about cancer last week, Tony, so I don't want to get off on that tangent too much, but, like, if you're going to get cancer, you're going to get cancer. Like, you can do the big stuff to avoid it, like don't smoke, don't get too much sun, don't eat too many fatty foods. That's more for heart health and stuff, but, like, you can't just, like, eliminate it. Like, there's no diet or anything that's going to stop. I'm never going to get cancer because I do this. Like, it's just not going to happen.
One of my teacher's husbands, like, he's 32, a bodybuilder and all this other stuff. He got pancreatic cancer. It's like he was in the middle of chemo and he was still benching 350 pounds. Like, they said they gave him 6 months and he ended up living 12 years. Like, so he actually got to, like, see his daughter graduate and everything, and they didn't think he would see, like, her even enter high school, even enter junior high. So he was able to fight it off for a long time, but that's I don't know, like someone who's that healthy to get something like that randomly, or like you think of Steve Jobs and a lot of other people, it happens.
Yeah, dude, we should get off the like downer
we've
health
been on
stuff,
health
Tony.
for like 20 minutes.
I was gonna ask you. I know the answer to this, but I'm asking it as a segue. Have you seen the new Star Wars trailer?
Of course I have. I've seen it like 6 times.
I've also seen it like 6 times.
I was probably saw it 6 times the first day, and maybe 10 times. Like, I'm just like, I loved the teaser they put up before, but this was just a little bit more, and I loved it. What did you think? I want your thoughts on it. I
thought that it was about as good of a 2-minute Star Wars trailer that you could get. I want to ask your opinion though, because I felt like that the Hamill lines, the Force is strong in my family, I have it, my father has it, my sister has it, you can have that power too, that those were re-recorded. And
they could be just for the trailer.
Yeah, like that he recorded them now, like that those are lines that may appear in the movie. But I've heard some debate online about that, and I'm not definitively sure, and I haven't gone back and watched Jedi and like tried to sync it up. Did you think that it was the original lines from the Return of the Jedi, or did you think that was like new?
I thought about it because like there's that part where he's like, "I'm a Jedi, like my father before me," like he's out there talking about it. But I don't think that those were originally recorded in Return of the Jedi, because who would he be talking to?
He's talking to Leia.
No, like in the trailer though, he's talking to somebody other than Leia, because he mentions my sister has it.
Yeah, no, have you seen Return of the Jedi, Tony?
Yes, I have.
All right. He says to her, "The Force is strong in my family. My father has it, I have it, and my sister has it," and he gives her a meaningful look like,
yes,
nudge, nudge. Remember when we kissed? It was super weird, apparently.
Yeah, they were up in the tree. I remember that part now.
Yeah. He says, like, it's a meaningful, like, look, and the line where he says, "You can have that power too," actually comes before, like, she asks him, it says something about, like, you have incredible power, and he says, "You could have that power too," and then he goes into the why she could have that power.
Yeah.
My father has it, I have it, my sister has it. Yeah.
You think Obi-Wan could have appeared and been like, "Hey, bro, that's your sister"?
He was still alive. What do you mean appeared? You want him to just, like, teleport to where they were at?
Oh, I'm talking about, like, in Empire Strikes Back, whenever he comes back and he's, he's Ghost Obi-Wan.
Why would he... I mean...
Because he sees that they're getting a little close.
They were not getting that close. Like, I think that, like, they had that one kiss in A New Hope.
Yeah, and that was more to, like, bother Han than it was her desire for Luke.
Oh, no, okay. Did they kiss in Empire Strikes Back as well?
That's where I thought it was.
I know that they kiss right before, like, they swing across the chasm. She says for luck, and she, like, plants one on his cheek or whatever.
Yeah. But I thought, like, there was, like, a hardcore makeout session whenever he's, like, getting back.
Yeah. I don't know. Obi-Wan has more important things to do. He preserved himself from death to become a Force ghost, Tony. You think he's going to be like, oh, by the way, that's like, he's doing important Force stuff.
He's the advisor, though, and he knows. Then again, they could have just decided that they were brother and sister in the third one and not had that idea beforehand.
I don't know. Maybe. But when does Vader like detect that? Is that in that third one? Because he says he calls out to her with the Force in the second one to get picked up. I don't know, man. It's been too long since I saw these movies.
You'd think he would have picked it up like whenever he first brought her on the ship. Like in the very first movie.
Who would have picked it up?
Vader. Then again, she might not have had a Force.
He was too busy detecting Obi-Wan, though. Like, I think Obi-Wan's, like, Force beacon or whatever you want to call it was probably the way strongest, and that's the one he knew.
But he also knew that his daughter was named Leia from back in the day.
Did he?
I thought that they showed that he at least knew Luke and Leia.
No, I don't think so.
Before Padme died of a broken heart.
I'm pretty sure that he was burning to death in the lava fields as she was giving birth. Like, he was off doing the, like, slaughter of the young Jedi or whatever, and then, like, Obi-Wan shows up and he's like, what are you doing? And, like, goes to whack him, and Padme dies of a broken heart because he turned into a giant douchebag. So he never saw his kids, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's true.
He wasn't, like, hanging around like, I know I've turned evil and killed a bunch of young Jedi people, but I want this one to be named Leia and this one to be named Luke.
It makes it even more insidious when he's, like, torturing his daughter in the first movie.
Yeah. I mean, if he knew, it would be insidious. I don't think he knows. He only knows in the third movie because Luke figures it out.
Yeah.
I think.
And Luke's all in tune with the Force now.
I don't know. We're not nearly big enough Star Wars nerds to be.
Yeah, there's probably a few Star Wars fans out there that have already turned this off.
I am excited. Like, I don't know what took them so long, but I'm glad that they finally got it on digital.
Yeah.
Jeez, guys, like you were so far ahead of the time shooting on the digital film on episode 1, 2, and 3. George Lucas is like, oh, well, we're getting with the times, right? Like, you guys need to do this and all these super CG effects. You know, we're kicking and screaming into the 21st century or whatever, and then like, oh, but it's only going to be available on physical media for forever when everybody else is releasing on digital.
Yeah, it took a while. Did you watch any part of that Star Wars conference?
I watched the whole thing.
I only watched a few sections, like where the guy came out and he was talking about all the voices he's done. I can't remember the actor for it. Like he came out and I was like, "Who is this guy? Why should I care?" And then he's done voice work in pretty much every cartoon ever.
Okay, well, I didn't see that part. I saw the part where J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy came out and talked about the show, and then they talked like they brought out R2 and BB-8, and they brought out the three main leads, and then they brought out Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, and a couple of the other guys.
How's Carrie Fisher looking? Like the last movie I saw her in, she was not doing so well.
I mean, she's getting old, Tony. They're all getting old.
But I'm saying, like, Luke looks exactly like Obi-Wan now.
Yeah, I guess.
Carrie Fisher was, like, she just wasn't, like, she did not look healthy at all.
She went through some stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't look great, Tony, but it's okay. She will pull off the regal old, ruler look, I think, very well.
Yeah,
when they
for
get
sure.
To it. You get makeup and, lighting and everything. It'll be fine.
Harrison Ford looked like he was doing okay for his age.
Yeah, except for the fact that he, broke his foot or
Crashed
whatever.
a plane, yeah.
Well, no, before that, he broke his foot on the set of Star Wars.
Yeah. And that delayed filming for a few weeks, if I remember right.
I don't think it was too bad. I think there's a lot of times when if they can't shoot one thing, they can shoot other stuff while, that's getting fixed.
How long do I know Wookiees live a really, really long time, but like Chewie doesn't look like they didn't make him even look like he had any gray or that he was aging at all. Always wondered about that.
I think they're the again, I'm not an official 100% hardcore nerd
or something,
but I read that they basically age really fast, like at the end of their lives.
But
that they live like 300 or 400 years. So they are in middle age for a long time, and it would make sense for him to be Plus, he's a character that you can carry over, right? Like,
Yeah.
even if Peter Mayhew dies off, like, you can put another tall guy in the suit.
And you've got enough samples that you could probably like make new noises if you had to.
I don't
just
even
like
know if Peter Mayhew does the roar.
I'm not sure either.
I think that might be just a sound mix with like some weird animal sounds. It might not be.
Some of my friends can do it pretty damn well though.
Right. What I'm saying is it's not impossible to go on without Peter Mayhew in the suit, so they can have that character carry over when the actors have gotten too old and or unfortunately probably died in the future. Chewbacca can still be in the series, just like C-3PO and R2. Although C-3PO will be harder because that's Anthony Daniels' voice, and even if he's not in the suit, like somebody's got to be really good, do really good impersonation of him if they decide to go forward with C-3PO.
Yeah, or they could just be like, "Oh, he got reprogrammed," but that wouldn't be as cool.
I guess that would be possible. I mean, but how awesome! Did you see the BB-8 droid?
I heard that it was a practical effect. I didn't know that. I thought it was a little CGI thing.
But did you see it come out on stage, Tony?
No, that's what I heard about it on Twitter, but I was at work whenever all this was happening.
Well, they had it. I mean, I'm sure somebody recorded. You could go back and anyway. But yes, it was awesome. Like I was working on editing the video and for the podcast, and I just got finished, and so I was like, somebody tweeted about like, oh, Star Wars Celebration. I was like, I could watch that, so I watched it. And the BB-8 droid was really neat. I mean, I can tell. I can figure out.
Is it like the size of a soccer ball? Like a
little bit bigger. Probably. I don't know. Like I would say about yay big, like a basketball, like a big fully inflated basketball.
Yeah.
But it seems like that it's it's got like a servo thing on the inside, and then the head like is probably magnetic, like with ball bearings or whatever. So,
kind of like Big Hero 6 with some of that stuff. Like the little magnet droid things.
Not really. Have you got watch the video of BB-8 rolling around and the head moving around on top of the thing as it rolls, and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. It just seems really cool that it's a practical effect. I would not have guessed that at all.
I also don't think that they used that robot for all of it. Like I think that a lot of it was puppeteered.
Yeah.
Because that would be somewhat easier than having to deal with the mechanics all the time.
Yeah.
So you could have like somebody with a stick, like rolling him along, moving the head and paint that stuff out later.
Yeah. Definitely seems like J.J. Abrams is putting his full effort into this because, like with Star Wars and everything, or Star Trek, he did a good job, but there wasn't near as much anticipation. There wasn't near as much like fanfare for it.
Well, this thing with Star Trek, and a lot of people get kind of upset by the approach, but I think that Star Trek was different because it was a reboot. And so he got to put his own stamp on it, and he really brought a lot of Star Wars type sensibility to Star Trek, which some fans didn't like, but I mean, it's making them the money, so
yeah.
Sorry to Star Trek fans, but apparently Star Wars is more bankable, even as an aesthetic. But, he brought that kind of cinematic scope to it that, and that sort of action-y feel that really wasn't there as much in some of the other ones.
Yeah, you had like some action sequences, but it wasn't nearly that. Like in First Contact and everything, you had them fighting in spacesuits on the outside of the shuttle and things that were like that.
They sort of fighting. I mean, they had their blasters and they were shooting at people. It wasn't like a big, like, drawn-out martial arts sequence or anything.
Yeah, not like the stuff that's in Daredevil.
But see, like, so now coming in to do a sequel to Star Wars, you're building on that world, so he's got, he's staying true to the the original mythology, but moving it forward, which I think is a different thing than what Star Trek was. Although I do think that it's interesting looking at Star Trek and kind of imagining that same sensibility with Star Wars. So I really liked it. I liked I mean, everybody's talked about it to death, but the shot of the Star Destroyer being crashed with the X-Wing in the front, I was just like, we need to get off this topic, but I do want to mention, I do not believe him. I think he's lying about the planet.
About it not being Tatooine or what? Yeah, probably.
Screw that guy and his lies about I'm gonna preserve the surprise. It's not Khan. He's not Into Darkness. He plays some other character, and he gets what's Benedict Cumberbatch to lie about it too, and then we're like, oh wow, we're totally fooled. And that's not. Until I see them, I will maybe believe that like Tatooine got renamed. But why would you have another desert planet?
Because there are probably a lot of them.
No, it's not. That's not the point, Tony. Like,
The only thing I could see that would be a little bit weird is why would one of the destroyers end up crash landing on Tatooine when it was on like one of the outer galaxies? Did they ever fight above Tatooine? I can't remember.
that's the first shot of the first movie. They're fighting over Tatooine.
In the full Star Destroyer? I thought that was a different part of the galaxy. I didn't know that was actually over. You're right.
Yeah, they're chasing. Like they pan down from the thing, and like the Corvette class ship comes over, and then the Star Destroyer comes over it. The Empire probably got sick of the Hutts doing their own thing.
True.
They're like, no, you guys. I want to see that. Like, apparently the Hutts have enough power to, and I mean, I'm sure that this is probably an area of the galaxy I don't care about, but like, to just defy the Empire. Like, what kind of ships do the Hutts have that they can just be like, give the middle finger to the Empire?
In Knights of the Old Republic, you got to see some pretty cool stuff with the Hutts and with some of those other factions out there.
The other big trailer that dropped that we probably should talk about is the BVS trailer. Batman voices Superman.
It looks incredible to me. A lot of people are like, oh, it took all the joy out of my life. I'm going to go kick a puppy. I'm like, man, you suck. This movie looks awesome.
It looks dark.
It looks awesome.
But I'm not saying that as a negative, Tony.
The only way to make Superman interesting is to really mess with it, because the original Superman is not interesting.
I disagree there. I like the original Superman.
He's a Boy Scout.
What's wrong with that?
He's not interesting. He's too powerful.
He fights other powerful beings, Tony. He's still too powerful. They didn't make him less powerful. He still has laser eyes and flies and is invincible to everything.
Yeah, and he's too powerful. He needs to not have every power. Have him fly and have him be invincible. Don't have him be faster than the Flash, and don't have him be like better than every other superhero combined, because then he's not in any real peril.
He's still gonna be that in the new movie, Tony. He's been in that in every Superman movie, and somehow he still manages to be in peril.
But Batman is way more interesting.
Yeah.
So you get to see him beat him up, and that's way better, because Superman shouldn't even be here anymore. He should have died off in the 60s.
I was thinking about this. Last week we were talking about Daredevil, and I said to you that hard work is more interesting to me than superpowers. And I think that that's why Batman, I think that is why people like Batman, is because he doesn't have a superpower. Everything that if he's ever awesome, it's because he worked really hard and because he was smart.
And has a nice budget.
Yeah, he has the budget, too. I guess there's the gadgets there, but I'm saying, like, preparation is his superpower.
Yeah, like, and what is it, like, just the end of it, like the voice modulator. I like how they got around the whole like Christian Bale Batman voice in a way that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but we talked about that yesterday at work. I was like, we were just like, Batman has all these gadgets, like every single gadget under the sun in his tool belt, but he can't get a voice modulator. He has to play like, he has to go to a voice coach and be like, "Oh, am I doing it right?" He's like, "You need to come a little bit down from more the the stomach region. Project. Am I doing it right now? Swear
because I have a hard time.
He's like,
I have a hard time thinking that Ben Affleck could really make his voice kind of like really badass and gritty. Like I think it just makes sense that he would go that way. I'm sure he could get some sort of growl into it and everything, but this is way better.
Also, that costume looked like the costume of somebody who wanted to scare the crap out of somebody.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that looks mean. That looks like a demon. I don't think I've seen a Batman costume look that menacing before.
Yeah.
So, like, that was really, like, to the sort of Batman scares people as his superpower.
Yeah. I also like that, they're showing Superman almost at, like, a deity level. Like, where there are people that are kind of worshiping him. Like, I like that aspect, too. I don't know how much they went into that with the comics, but I could totally see it happening. You've got someone that saves your city even if you destroyed half of it by accident. Then you've got just legions of people that whenever they see him, they feel something. They feel hope. They feel all sorts of things. Of course he's going to get followers. Then you see like the statue with false god written on it.
Yeah. I mean, I can see all that stuff happening. I was really enthused that, like, I don't know if the movie's going to be good, Tony. I mean, it might not be good. But I thought that was a legitimate way to take it.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, how people would react to something like that in that universe.
Yeah.
The way they have it set up. The most intriguing shot to me of the trailer, of all the things I saw, was when Superman like walks into that door and all the guys kneel down in front of him, like the SWAT guys. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Why are people... I mean, I understand that they're going for he's like a god, but why would the SWAT team bow to him?
Maybe they've just seen a lot of other SWAT teams and what happens when you try to resist.
Maybe? Like, I don't know what he's doing in that shot. I don't know... Like, we still don't have a real clear...
Yeah, because that looks almost like a temple, not like some business place. So who knows what's going on there? It'll be really interesting to see.
And we don't have a clear idea of what Batman's beef with him is, or what his beef with Batman is. Like, I have a feeling that they're going to have a clash of ideologies of, Batman trying to do something and Superman trying to stop him and be like, no, you shouldn't do this, or vice versa. And I don't. I mean, I don't.
It's going to take some crafting. Yeah, and we get to see like Jason Momoa's Aquaman, which is actually really cool casting, I think.
Was he in the trailer?
No, I'm just saying we'll get to see him.
Oh, yeah.
And like the new Wonder Woman, all that. Like I think it's going to be a solid movie. It's a good way for DC to kick off and differentiate themselves a little bit from Marvel. I know that more people are interested in the Marvel stuff because it's a lot more fun. Like as far as just like kind of slapsticky and everything, but I'm really interested to see where this is going.
I think that there's room in the world for both.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room in the world for both, and I'm glad that both are getting made, and I hope that both are good.
Yeah, me too. And like they've shown that they can actually have some fun with it, like with the Flash TV series and everything.
Yeah, although the Daredevil's a little bit different. Oh wait, no, that's Marvel.
Yeah,
so they go back
for
and
some
forth.
reason
like
I
Marvel...
always think that Daredevil is DC, but he's not.
Well, because he has that flavor, right? Like he seems like he should be in there with Batman, and that like.
Well, he was one of the only Marvel heroes that would actually kill people.
He doesn't seem like he's doing that very much in the series yet. Although I haven't watched a lot. I haven't watched the whole thing. But they keep having him throw people off the building, and they're like, "Oh, he landed in a convenient soft dumpster. He will probably be in a coma."
Someday he's not going to be able to see the dumpster down below, and or they'll land like half on the dumpster and get severed.
Yeah, it's just that bugs me a little bit, Tony.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I know he threw that guy off the building, but he will live.
Yeah, at least insinuate the death.
Anyway. We should probably wrap this thing up, Tony.
Probably. All right. Do you want to do questions or do you want to wrap it up?
I don't think we have time for questions today. We went a little long. I'm feeling like our energy's a little bit low, so I don't want to... I think Sharknado really took it out of us. Sharknado did us wrong. Next week we're going to be better, though, Tony. Next week we're going to be enthusiastic about Your Next.
We're getting it back into the standard horror for a little bit. Like we're not going to be doing like a theme month for any time soon, but we are going with Your Next. We're also open for some suggestions right now, stuff that's on Netflix generally. We can also go see some stuff, and I'm going to be seeing about 15 to 20 horror movies in the next couple of weeks because I'm going to the Stanley Film Festival, so that'll be awesome.
That sounds awesome. It's going to be up at that hotel where they filmed where The Shining was inspired, at least.
Yep. It'll be up there, and they're taking over part of the hotel, the best haunted house company in Denver. Like this place that actually puts on like a 4-story sized haunted house, and they're taking over a wing of the Stanley to set up a haunted house there. Like there's going to be some mystery thing like that you can do the whole time. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff there, so I'll be reporting from that here in a little bit. We'll be talking about that more in the coming weeks, and be watching a lot of horror soon. So I'll tell you guys how that goes.
I am very envious of you. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, like if we had more time and you hadn't taken 4 vacations in a month, like maybe we could see about getting you out, but that's not how cards were this time. Anyway, there's a few things I want you guys to check out. I want you to go to humanechoes.com. Check out the content we've been putting out there. Check out all the videos that we put out on our YouTube channel. Just all the cool stuff that we've been building up and putting out there. Also, on the Human Echo site, on the right-hand side, there is a PayPal donation link. You can subscribe for $1, $5, $10, or you can make a one-time donation. Every little bit helps. It's an amazing thing that you guys have been supporting us, and we're very grateful. And, thank you for checking all that out.
And we'll see you next week. We're going to talk about Your Next. We're getting out of the crappy movies for now.
And I want you guys to go listen to the the Writers Arena press conference that we set up. It's going to be a little bit late by the time this happens. It'll actually be when voting is ending. But we put out a cool little press conference with Danny Brophy and Thomas Mays. It was one of the funniest things I've ever recorded, so check it out.
You guys have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
What's up?
They released the Mega Shark vs. Colossus trailer. It's a Japanese, so...
A Japanese.